Welcome to the Business Samurai Podcast. I am John Barker. With me today, hailing from the Emerald Isle, commonly referred to as Ireland, Mr. Ben Canning. Ben is a personal trainer and founder and CEO of BC Training, as a personal training and fitness organization that assists both men and women to reach their desired goals, hit their maximum potential. Ben works with a number of clients worldwide around physical fitness, training, and mental health. Ben is co-host of the weekly podcast, We Hack Health with Dave Kennedy, which started a fitness and wellness movement online with the hashtag WeHackHealth. Go check it out on Twitter and their Discord channel, which I'll make sure the links are in the show notes below. They have the second coolest logo, by the way, on the internet next to mine. So take a long sip of your whiskey or Guinness, no matter what time of day you're listening to this, and let's welcome Ben. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I think you nailed it.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Good.
So take a couple minutes, give a breakdown of your entry into the fitness space, because out of some of the businesses to start, you're one of the trifecta. They always say health, wealth, and relationships. So give us the little backstory.
How much detail and how many profanities am I allowed to use?
You are allowed to use one profanity every word.
Okay, so for me, if we go way back, before I did what I'm doing, I realized quite early on that I was highly unemployable. I just didn't work well for working with other people. So I knew that there needed to be something that I did that was me working for myself. And it's always just fallen into whatever I have been into at the time. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what way you look at it, the first sort of business, I guess, that I ran was providing transport to different nightclubs across the country, which was just an excuse for me to get drunk 5 out of 7 nights a week and get paid pretty well for it. The shelf life of that was quite short, to be honest, because I just couldn't keep up with it. And then after that, I found myself in the gym instead of in the club. A friend of mine qualified as a personal trainer, and he was like, look, I need someone to do my first ever before and after. I was like, I need to stop being a pisshead every single weekend, so I'm your guy. And then just absolutely fell in love with it. I, at that time, worked for someone again, really hated it. And I was like, what do I do to get out of this? I had, after my original coach, I had an online coach, and I was like, this online coaching thing seems like the one. Like, this guy's just send me emails every week. Like, it seems to be easy enough. So I was like, right, what do I need to do to become an online coach? The first step was obviously become a gym floor coach, like a gym floor PT. So I moved into that, started working on the gym floor in December 2016. And it was always my goal to go fully online by December 2021. So I'd given myself 5 years, I guess that was, to be fully online off the gym floor. Obviously, the recent global shit show pushed everything that little bit forward. And from March 2020, so I guess 2 years, I've been fully online, which has been the best thing I've ever done.
Awesome. How did you have any other like fitness influences in your life to help that career transition? Was it just working in that gym that kind of gave you the experience, or is there other certifications and stuff like that to set you apart?
So the being qualified as a PT, I don't know if it's the same over there. I assume it's probably something similar. The way I describe it is it's almost like adult learning. You just pay for the qualification. So it's like when you do your driving test, they teach you how to pass your driving test, but they don't actually teach you how to drive. So whenever you get that initial certificate, it's okay. And then you sit down with an actual human in front of you and they tell you just the problems, and you're like, what page of the fucking textbook was this on? I don't remember this bit. So there is a lot of learning from clients. And I think that's the best thing that you can do, is just work with a lot of people to get an understanding of how people actually work and what their needs are. But in terms of like other qualifications, there isn't really anything specific, especially over here, that is deemed as a qualification. But there are like weekly or bi-weekly courses or weekends away or physique camps or education camps for nutrition, things that I've done just along the way as my sort of interest has moved.
Well, the kicker here is in the United States, the only thing you got to do is shirtless pictures on Instagram, man, and then you're instantly qualified.
Yeah, that's the saying. Yeah. That's it. So you just need to do a photo shoot, then you're fully qualified.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I want to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
How much? But speaking of that, this is something we haven't really talked before this, other than the hashtag We Hack Twitter, and you see my weak lifts because I'm always hurt, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But how much has the Instagram and the TikToks and all of that nonsense that's out there freaking ruined people's attitudes and what they think it actually takes to improve getting a healthy lifestyle, getting a weight that they like? You don't have to be ripped, but how does that affect when somebody comes to you and says, help me?
The fitness industry as a whole, in my opinion, is a shit show for that exact reason, because people will post pictures of themselves when they look their best because they've just done a photo shoot and they've went through absolute hell to get there. And then they try and sell that to you as in, well, I did this in 10 weeks, so here you go. I'll charge you X amount of dollars or pounds for it. Whenever that is massively unrealistic in terms of like time frame and whatever else. And as I've developed as a coach, I have realized that the body and the physique is almost the last thing that you worry about. And I think that's something that's massively overlooked in the start, especially with the people that I work with, is overcoming their sort of mental challenges and then almost teaching them to forget everything that they know about training and nutrition. Okay. Because with no disrespect to anybody, they don't come on a call with me because they are in super good shape. Do you know what I mean? They come because it's a shambles in some way, shape or form. And they're like, oh, but I used to do this and I used to do that. And I'm like, we need to forget everything that you used to do. And then we're going to build out what we do moving forward. In answer to your question, Instagram, TikTok and social media and influencers and the fitness industry, I guess it's been the best and the worst thing for it, because it's been good in a sense that it has increased people's awareness of their health and fitness. But it has been bad in the sense that it's given them unrealistic expectations, because people will come in and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going on holiday in 6 weeks, so I need a six pack. And I'm like, okay, you need to come to me a year ago. And then we probably would.
I guess, how hard is it to deprogram the people that are getting constantly bombarded with that crap day in and day out?
I'm going to say initially it was quite difficult because it was just me telling them. But one of the best tools that I now have is everybody else in the client group. So at the start of the pandemic, originally, I started a weekly group call because people wanted to interact with other humans and whatever else. And one thing that I've picked up on that is that I'm pretty much telling people the opposite of what they're used to doing. So they're like, oh, I need to eat 1,000 calories a day and do 2 hours of cardio and whatever else. I'm like, no, we need to not do that. And then whenever I'm telling people that they need to start increasing their calories if they want to lose weight, they're like, I think I've contacted the wrong guy. But if there's 15, 20, 25 other people in the group who've been through that process, who have overcome those things themselves, they can tell them, just trust the process, or he actually knows what he's talking about, or this is how I dealt with it. And I often, if I'm on initial consultation calls, I'll try and emphasize the importance of the client group beyond me, because it's something that I can't provide by myself. Do you know what I mean? It's everything that from their insights and their perspectives that they provide that I can't give just being a coach.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's helpful when you see the online community of these guys putting in the work day in and day out with the Twitter using that hashtag. It's that reinforcement, that community reinforcement and coaching.
And that drives me as well, because I'm like, I can't be everybody else, just sharing, hashtag we hack health, and I'm sitting having beers and my feet up and not actually training. Do you know? Like, I need to live and breathe it. Like, I need to do it if I'm prescribing it. Do you know what I mean?
I guess that's the difference between setting the lifestyle versus a diet.
Yeah,
you've got to turn it into a lifestyle. People are looking to shortcuts. And speaking of that, when somebody comes to you, it's kind of like doing the hard work versus looking for cheats. What's that magic pill? What's that supplement? How can I do this without touching a weight, taking a walk outside? How desperate are they when they actually come to you to want change for them to actually get off their asses and do something?
I guess everything's person dependent. A lot of coaching, in my opinion, is saying it depends, or does that make sense? So in terms of being a person dependent, it depends what experience that they've had before, or what sort of situation that they're in. Are they the person that is maybe 100 pounds overweight, or are they the person that maybe struggles to put on weight? What is their motivation for change? Is it that they're overweight and it's health related and they're like, I need to fucking do this because if I don't, my doctor says I'm going to die? And I've literally had those conversations before. Or is it the similar sort of background that I came from, that I'm like a skinny little boy, like I'm meant to be 30 years of age and I'm skinny here. Like, how do I, change here? Like, how do I fit into my clothes? And it's a confidence thing, or it's they just want to look and feel a certain way. So it depends on what they actually need. But they generally come to me with their own perception of what they think that they should be doing. And we need to just unravel all that and just literally start from the basics. And I don't have I look at you as a person and you've told me that you're a family man or you're a business owner, so I fit you into this box. It's what are you doing at the minute and how do we improve on each aspect of those, rather than trying to just delete all of that and flip the table upside down and go, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and that's going to get you to where you want to be. Because I found over time that too much change at once is overwhelming. It's hard to manage. So if we just look at the things that we're doing and the things that we can improve on gradually, then you generally have much more long-term success. And for me, what I want to give everybody is an understanding of their body and what's good for them and how they can progress in whatever their goal is.
So you actually hit something I had wrote down, is talking about too many changes at once. For a lot of people, once I know even some of the stuff I'm going through now, the stuff that where you've got didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Whether it's, like you said, you're 100 pounds overweight, or you can't keep it. It didn't happen overnight, so you can't expect
you
it
didn't
to
gain
happen.
100 pounds in 6 weeks, so you're not going
Right.
to lose it in 6 weeks.
That sounds like a good diet challenge to do for YouTube, though, to be honest with you. I'm game.
Yes, that would definitely be clickbait. Like, I would be a YouTube star instantly.
Those ones that are like, hey, can you eat 100,000 calories in one day? I haven't seen that one yet. They're usually like 10. But how do you manage? Is this a part of trying to gauge a baseline? And I'm going to stick it to, and please dive into how you gauge like a mental baseline for where somebody's at as well, since that's obviously a big part of this. But do you say, hey, give me a baseline of what you do for a week or two, and then we can go from there to start making small incremental adjustments? Is that kind of your approach?
Yeah, so I guess I'll take it back even further and talk you through like how the actual process of if you book a call with me actually works. So I assume that you will have done your research and been on the website. The website is not very much except book a call. So whenever you click that book a call, it will set up the time, and what that will do is it'll send you out an initial questionnaire. Now, again, this is something that's been built up over time, that it's quite an extensive questionnaire, because I find that the more that I know, the better. So there's maybe 75, 80 questions. And that to me is to give me an idea as to what goes on in their general life. Like,
can I interject something into that as well, real quick?
Yeah.
I think from a business perspective, if somebody is willing to answer 75 to 80 questions,
100%,
their pain is enough that they want your help, and it's not a fly-by-night thing.
Yeah.
And I'm 100%. Stealing that for some stuff I'm working on. So please continue. Sorry for interrupting.
But it almost pre-qualifies the person, that if they're going to take the time to fill that out, then they're willing to have the conversation, and they're in a place that they're ready to make change. Whereas some people would look at them and be like, fuck that, I'm not filling that in. Like, it's too many questions. What does this guy need to know about whatever it is? So it's quite extensive. It's really extensive. It covers what they do day to day, who they live with, who is in charge of their food, their shopping, their sleep, how many alcoholic beverages they have, how many caffeinated beverages they have, like what their training looks like at the minute, what their food looks like at the minute. It's a lot. But that also gives me, I'll spend half an hour, 45 minutes before I have the call with them going through it and looking for like red flags or things to pick up in conversation. And generally that gives me a pretty good insight as to, okay, they have been tracking their food for the past 3 months. So they're already maybe a slight bit ahead, or this person has been training for 5 years but hasn't seen any change and is just like ready to bang his head against the wall because he's not making any changes. Or it's this person has had the health scare and they've never trained, or they've never looked after their food. So the doctors just told them they need to sort something else now, and they're coming to me with an absolute clean slate in terms of what they're doing. So that in itself is almost like it starts to allow me to build a picture. Then whenever we have the call, I always preface the call with, this is just a sort of conversation version of your questionnaire, because you know yourself, if you're talking to someone, you can see them. The answers that they give you are slightly different than the ones that they write down. So you just put it into their hands in terms of the way that I said is that, look, this calls for me to get an idea of what you're struggling with, what brought you here, if I can help, and then what that actually looks like in terms of building out a plan moving forward. And I will, depending on the feedback that I'm getting, I will probe them on things in terms of, they'll maybe tell me that they want to, I don't know, have the confidence to take their shirt off whenever they go to the beach. I'm like, okay, but I want to know why that you want to have that. Like, why do you want that? Is it for you? Is it because someone fucked you off whenever you were younger and you've been overweight ever since then? What's the reason why? And then that's whenever you start to get into the sort of the mindset side of things, because if you can have an understanding of why people actually want these things, then to get them there, it's that little bit easier, rather than being like, okay, he wants a six pack, perfect, this is the plan for that, send it to him, that's it.
That to me is like the perfect approach. Again, going back to somebody is desperate enough that they want the change that they are looking for. How quickly does it take to get somebody to, once you get them into the process where they're starting to build up their own steam, they're starting to see some of those changes in there, and they're like, hey Ben, let's make this a little bit more. I like this. I imagine that's also probably a happy trigger point for you, where you're going, all right, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I'm actually qualified and I understand what's going on here. Yeah. It's actually funny because on the weekly group call a couple of weeks ago, one of the guys was saying that he had passed the valley of sorrow, as he called it. And I was like, explain that. And he was like, when you sign up initially, you have this like immediate, I'm so excited, this is going to change my life, this is the best decision I've ever made. And then it obviously takes time for the results to follow. So you go through this, say, from week 5 until week 10 or 11, that there's slight changes happening, but you feel like you're putting a lot of effort in and you want more changes. And then you go like week 12 and beyond, you really start to see a physical change. You feel better, you're sleeping better, your energy levels are better. All these things are better. And then it's like you said, you're like, if I feel good, this good training 3 times a week for 45 minutes, what if I were to do 4 times a week? And then that's whenever it starts to come and you're like, I want a wee bit more. And then you get into that real positive. It should actually feel really good. And then everything that I look at is beyond just what the physical change is. It's like, how are their energy on the calls whenever I'm speaking to them, or how are they getting on at work, or there's a different look about them. And one thing that I always will put back to people if I'm looking at their check-in photos or whatever, I'll compare their first photos, obviously like the original ones, to whatever week we're on. I'm like, look how much taller you're standing, or look at how much happier you look in terms of your smile. So there's a lot to sort of come along with it. But in terms of what you're asking, generally for people to start to actually physically see change, because you see yourself so much, to physically see change, I generally find it's about from about 12 weeks on, because you're very critical of yourself because you see yourself every single day. Okay, yes, you can maybe see weight come down or measurements coming down, but the numbers on the check-in sheet don't mean shit if you can't look in the mirror and go, I'm actually different.
Right. That's that internal motivation. Dive into this real quick, because I'll let you explain it, about the not just strictly tracking the weight that you see on the scale, but also how the measurements are so important to know which type of progress you're making.
Yeah, for me, if I could fuck the scale out the window for everybody, I would, because it's the biggest it's the biggest hurdle in itself. And I think I've had this conversation on a call with a client earlier on. We have become so ingrained that when people talk about losing weight, they look at the number because that is what they relate it to. And I'm like, okay, I fully understand it. Like, I get it. And they've been brought up, and things like BMI will tell them that they're obese based on their weight and whatever else. I'm like, that's not taking everything into consideration. So for me, again, for anybody who's ever been through the extensive questionnaire, I have an equally extensive weekly check-in sheet that I think there's maybe 65 points on, 65 different data points that cover everything from energy levels, ability to focus, your sleep, your mood, did you do your gratitude log, your blood pressure, your heart rate variability. And all these sort of markers allow me to build a picture of what's going on throughout the week. And then also, if the scale doesn't move 1 week, I can go, okay, you didn't lose any weight this week, but this marker has improved. This is an actual health benefit that you're getting, or you're sleeping better, or your energy better, or you're stronger. So if we talk about a physical side of things, like I'll look at photos, I'll look at weight, and I'll look at metrics in terms of measurements. And you will find that they all don't move together, which fucks people up, because if I'm losing weight, like, why are my measurements not coming down? Or if I'm losing measurements, why is my weight not coming down? But I think the biggest sort of teaching point in that is looking at body composition, because I've genuinely had clients before, like when I worked in the gym floor, that I've trained them for a year and their weight has literally stayed exactly the same for the entire year, but obviously their body composition has totally changed. So being able to detach them from that number is always a big hurdle. But that's why I look at so many different data points, because while it's cool losing weight or dropping centimeters in your measurements, like if we can look at improvements in how your heart's functioning, or your blood pressure, or your blood work, it's way beyond just getting a six-pack. Like, it's actual longevity of life and health benefits.
Oh, wow. So you actually get into blood work and things of that nature. You may be the first coach I know that has actually went to that deep as far as having that with check-ins. I'm sure there's probably others, but I've never had a conversation with them. How much do you get beholden to the fitness trackers and your Whoop straps and all that kind of stuff? Is that a good baseline measurement in your opinion? I've done research on it a while back, but not on newer versions. And I know others that are like, they live and breathe by what the numbers say on the fitness trackers. What's your perspective?
Again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it's a great tool because it can give us so much information. Generally, they're going to cover your steps, or it's going to be able to show you how many calories you burnt, or it's going to be able to tell you your resting heart rate, or your heart rate variability, or whatever it is, which is all great data to have, or your sleep, things like that. Whereas before, like, you have to use other things like just time in terms of your output or whatever. So it's a good tool in that way. What I see as a pretty big problem with it is people will go and do a spin class and be like, oh, I burnt 657 calories here. I'm going to go and eat 10 donuts, because you're almost buying back the calories that you've just burnt. And they live and breathe that part of it. And that's, again, it's probably just lack of education in terms of what's actually going on. One thing that I'm a big advocate for, and this is just from my own personal experience, is taking a week off the wearable tech and actually having an understanding of how you actually feel. Because I used to find that I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like, oh, I feel great. And then I'd check my app and Aura would tell me that I'd only had 43% sleep score. And I'm like, I feel shit, because the app is telling me that I feel shit. So I do think that while the wearable tech is great, you need to sometimes just check in with yourself in terms of, and I do have that in the check-in sheet. It's okay, what was your sleep in terms of minutes? What was the efficiency in terms of what the app says? But how did you actually feel? Because there's often a big disconnect in terms of what the two are. And I think I do often recommend, like, just take time off from Fitbit or Whip or whatever it is, recalibrate yourself and then come back to it. So again, it depends on the person, but I think that they're a great tool if they're used in the proper way and you don't get too caught up in the details or the minutiae of it.
Oh yeah, no, I think the gamification aspect of it, if you've got that community, is a good driver. For me right now, me and my wife will sit there and we're on the move streak and all that kind of stuff. And it's, hey, I make fun of her. You got 10 calories to go before you cross and get the 3 rings to circle across. But it gives it a different type of aspect. And again, it's that community feel that's out there. Do you do any work with competitors at all? Like bodybuilders, strength training, CrossFitters, any of that type of stuff, prepping them for that?
No. I think
I wore my Arnold shirt for nothing today. Then thank
you. The reason that I used to coach a professional tennis player, and the level of detail that you need to go into in terms of what they need as an athlete is so specific. And while it's great knowledge to have, unless I'm going to coach professional tennis players for the rest of my life, it's a lot of time to put into just that one specific thing. In terms of like professional bodybuilders, Helmy, the guy that I just was mentioning in terms of the podcast that we just recorded, like that's his thing. And I think that there's definitely a lot of wisdom in being able to outsource. So if somebody came to me and they're like, I want to do a bodybuilding show, I'm like, I'm not the guy. Like, I can recommend, I have 2 or 3 people I can recommend. I've been able to outsource that. I can't be a master of absolutely everything, things like that. The specifics that you need to go into and the level of work that needs to go into each individual would take away from what I'm doing from everybody else. Do you know what I mean? Because I would have to relearn everything about what they need for, if it's bodybuilding, what they need, coming up to going in stage, or if it's CrossFit, what do they need in terms of like performance or fuel in their bodies or whatever else.
No, I understand that. And now, like I said, we haven't talked before this. That was actually a lot of my background. I didn't compete. Actually, it's still a goal, if I can ever stop becoming the walking injury that I am right now, is to do a physique show at some point. But that's actually was my out of high school with weightlifting. I'm 43, working out with people that did amateur competitive bodybuilding, and seeing the massive amount of foods that they ate. And honestly, I lived and worked that lifestyle for a period of time. And I do believe it's what caused my injuries, particularly with my knee as I got older. Not that we were doing anything that I would think, even looking back on it, that was improper or incorrect. Obviously, it was just massive amounts of weight. And I put massive amounts of weight on my body over a period of time that I just don't think my frame could support. I think that was part of it, because I've always prided myself on trying to maintain proper form and etiquette in the gym without doing stupid things that you see other people do, or teenagers come into the gym and grabbing weight that they shouldn't be, because that's a big part of it. So I've got that as a goal in there. But one of the things, I don't know if you even track any of the stuff. I do loosely track the bodybuilding. We're seeing lots of deaths with steroids at the professional level. And then it's coming out more and more that the actors, whether they'll admit it or not, to get ready for a role, like you said, in 12 months, they've got assistants. And I think that's setting up a potentially bad mindset for kids coming up. They're seeing their action heroes, not look like Bruce Willis did when I was growing up, like just a normal dude, but freaking the Incredible Hulk. And I'm worried about that setting up the wrong expectations if people are not going to be forthcoming in those discussions. And I just don't know if some of the circles you talk around, if that's something you worry about for general public health at all.
Yeah, I've had many open conversations, and as we spoke just before, like who I train and the people that I work with has massively changed over the past 18 months. And the more that I move to coaching more meals, and especially coaching more meals based in America, the more the conversation comes around TRT and things like that, which is obviously different than performance enhancing drugs and like going down that street. And I'm happy to have open conversations about that because I have the knowledge for it. Anything beyond that, I wouldn't be recommending doing whatever they need to do to get on stage. I do think that is definitely a big part of what's missing, because if you think of, even we talk about the competitors at the Olympia, like Chris Bumstead, he's in incredible shape, but
Yep.
we all know how he got there. Do you know what I mean? But if I were me starting out my training career about 8 years ago, if I look at him and I'm like, right, I can do that. I'd be able to do that. There's no problem. And I think, again, it just comes down to, because it's seen as, I don't know if, I assume it's the same over there, but because it's seen as a taboo subject, people don't want to have the conversation. So if I decide, okay, I want to get big and become a bodybuilder, I then have to go, okay, this is what I need to take and this is what I need to do. And it comes from just lack of education. And I guess one of the biggest things that I've seen when I worked on the gym floor is people starting into that too early, like not reaching their true natural potential before going down that street, like seeing it as a shortcut and seeing it, the more that I take, the bigger I will be, when it's not necessarily like that. And again, if we take it back to looking at blood work and looking at blood panels and how your body responds and levels that things should be at, and doing it in a healthy way, it can be done. And I don't follow a lot of coaches, and I don't really have many conversations with many coaches. Helmy I will talk to, who is obviously on the road to become a professional bodybuilder, so I have that insight. And my former coach Callum, like he coaches professional athletes, that's what he does. So following his stuff and having an understanding of his process and educating the athletes in terms of what they're taking and how long they should be taking it for, and almost like the way that he's moving things is, it's about spreading the risk. So obviously with all these things that you take, there will be adverse side effects, and what he looks at is, instead of pushing things to maximum limits in terms of maxing out how much testosterone you can take, he looks at different, like a couple of different compounds, and doing like a smaller dose of those things. So looking at it from a health perspective over a broad spectrum, so that you're not like really putting that much sort of pressure and challenge on what's going on in your liver or your heart or whatever it is.
No, I agree. And having been to as many shows, I had even been to one. I remember this years ago. A friend of mine was competing in a regional, and it was not drug tested, but you could clearly, identify, after you learn an eye to a degree, and you sit there and you're going, hey, we went across the stage and we were like, natural, nope, natural, just because of the amount of muscle there. And like I said, I'm here in the US, it is absolutely taboo. It's that it reminds me growing up before it became WWE, WWF. Nobody wanted to admit that wrestling was fake. It's like, hold on a second, guys, this stuff's scripted out and all this kind of stuff. Bodybuilding in and of itself. And again, like I said, transitioning to medium where everybody is ripped out of their minds in movies and television shows nowadays, I am a little concerned on the influence that has, outside of someone my age going, hey doc, I need some TRT. I can't, I'm not sleeping well. I think
it's even to go down that route in terms of the conversation, like what clinics and what you guys have available over there from that perspective, I think is incredible, because you have professionals that can look at it and prescribe and get you back to optimal. And it's not about pushing to those like super physiological ranges that are just absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's about how can you get back to functioning on optimal, so that you can, like you said, sleep better or have more energy or run about after the kids or still continue to train or recover or whatever it is. So I think that should be talked about more, because I'll talk about it in client calls, and a couple of guys that are running TRT, will openly have the conversation, because they almost wish that they had someone to talk to about it whenever they went down the process. But yeah, I think that, especially if you're talking about actors, like what they have to put their bodies through role to role in terms of how different they look, like that, it's definitely something that's not spoken about. And I think it just comes down to the influence and the social media and the improper expectations that the people and especially younger generation will have.
Yeah. And again, it's something that I've thought about for my own health as I've hitting that mid 40s mark. And I kid you not, man, I put a beating on myself over the years, an unmitigated beating from just gym training. And I'm at the point now where, blew out the knee twice. Once was from basketball. I used to play basketball. Then I had a cartilage tear that I can't explain what happened. I wake up one day and I'm falling down just by standing up. So leg days can be interesting if and when I can do them. No squatting, of course. No high impact. 3 AC joint decompression procedures from just all the pressing overhead. And then just constantly spraying something along that line that, again, I think it goes back to working out with some of those guys that were massive. I'm talking over 300 pounds, doing the bodybuilding thing off season, over 300 pounds. And man, I was right there with them at, let me see, at that time period, I was probably 185 and got up to 240. and got
Nice.
up to 240. And I was actually like, I'm probably 240 now, but it's like the Oreo
different 240.
Well, and part of that is some of the injury I've been going through for 3 months now. It's just absolutely stupid nonsense. But some of the other benefits you mentioned is some of the mental, the creativity. Do you get a lot of responses where somebody's like, hey, man, I missed my workout today and now my whole day sucks. I haven't been able to work at my job because that rush, that endorphin thing I'm sure that's some other tangible benefits other people are
for sure.
may not think about when they're looking at this. If they're only looking, you want to throw the scale out and hold on a second, your whole performance went up across the board, man.
Yeah. And do you know what? Like, I mean, as I don't know whether it's come from the podcast and people actually hear me speak about it or whether things are changing, but I have literally had clients come to me and say, look, I need better mental clarity. What can we do to get that? Like, I need to, especially with the industry, you know, I work quite a lot with information security and cybersecurity, so they need to be switched on to what the fuck's going on. Coming to me and like, I need to be focusing better, I need to function better, like I have this brain fog and I need to get rid of it. It's funny having those conversations because people are almost coming for what the byproduct is that they don't usually, and that obviously the physical side of it and the change that is great that comes alongside that, but they're now coming to me with, I want all these things that people don't know that they're going to get. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know whether it's people are just changing or it's just because of the information that I've been putting out.
I would sit there and say the one thing that when COVID started, I was the gym rat, man. So going back into my early 20s, I was that dude working out with those bodybuilder guys in the gym for 3 hours a night. Till I finally started getting old enough, I'm like, I got to do some other things. We got to cut these workouts. I don't need to be in the gym for 3 hours a night.
Yeah.
And I am not exaggerating when I say 3 hours a night, because I distinctly remember the conversation with the guys going, I can't spend that much time in here anymore. But when COVID started doing the gym build out at the house, and the one thing that I've always said, when you're working on a problem and you're stuck on something, go do something else. Go take a walk. Stop trying to force yourself to be creative. Stop trying to force yourself to find a solution to the problem. Go do something else. And I have found, since I've built the home gym out, I keep a notebook down there, because the most random thing that I'm not thinking about, that I was thinking about 2 days ago, hey dummy, why should that pop in my where was this 2 days? Where was this 2 days ago?
Yeah.
But you mentioned the cybersecurity professionals. So talk about how the We Hack Health movement kind of got started. What was the origins? Because I'm trying to think of when I came into it, and honestly, I can't remember exactly. It just feels like something that I do. I don't remember how it got started, who I was connected to that initially started doing it. I'm like, oh, hey, hold on a second.
Yeah. If we take it back to obviously me fully transitioning online, and then I'm pretty open about this. Like, I started coaching Dave, and to me, Dave was just Dave. Like, he contacted me through Facebook. It was just as if anybody else had contacted me, and then all of a sudden he's got fucking 150,000 followers on Twitter, and he's this fucking cybersecurity genius. I'm like, who are you really? What the fuck's going on here? And then from that, just him posting his sort of success, like my client base in America grew through people who are doing a similar sort of job. And I think, again, the more I got into it, the more sort of patterns that I could see as to what people struggled with. And they are all in the same industry, so they all have similar struggles in some sort of way. And I was like, we need to put this information out. We need to find a way to do this. And it was actually Martin, the guy who, I'm going to say takes all my photos, but the photographer that I use quite often. First of all, he said, you should start a YouTube channel. I was like, no, because I wasn't
why not?
I didn't know it's coming, but I didn't like I don't like speaking. Well, I didn't like speaking in front of the camera, and I didn't like, because there's a mic here, it would have freaked me out. I could have a conversation with you all day long because there's a mic and it's recording. I would have been like, oh, I can't do that. And then I was just literally having a conversation with Dave one day, and I was like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Do you want to do it with me? And I was like, he's too busy. Like, he won't want to do that. And he was like, I'd be fucking honored. And I was like, holy shit, really? So then it just came from there. And then we started the podcast. I'm going to say
September,
August.
September, August last year. Yeah.
Okay, September, August. And it's basically just gone from strength to strength. Obviously, one thing I'm very grateful of is the presence that Dave has on Twitter and social media that's helped us grow. And to me, one of the coolest things about it is, okay, yes, it's great getting someone a six pack or whatever it is. Like, I'm in a position now with the information that I'm putting out and the audience and everything that comes along with it, that I can actually help an entire industry, which is a unique position to be in. So I can actually help them with being more productive at work, or living longer, or handling their stress better, or sleeping better, or whatever it is. And it's a very unique position to be in. And to me, it's something that came totally out of the blue, far left field, and it's something I really love doing. And it's actually quite good, because if I'm speaking to someone on the initial consultation call, they will have listened to some episode of the podcast, so they already have a bit of an understanding as to me, and you don't have to have that awkward initial conversation. And
like we did.
No, but not even with that, because of the hashtag goes to Twitter, like I already
Sure.
know who you are. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before, I'd have clicked into it, and then you have this total stranger that doesn't know who I am, or they've maybe read things that I have. Yes, they've maybe read things that I have written, like when I used to post a lot on Instagram or whatever. But I think having heard someone's voice and how they actually are is entirely different than reading something that they have written. And I think that it's helped me and my business massively in so many ways that I couldn't ever have imagined.
No, absolutely. And so a little bit of my background. I've been in tech. I didn't know Dave. I've never talked to Dave outside of me sending him stupid GIFs on some of his posts online. That's the extent of it. But I've been in tech, and now just doing consulting, and obviously doing this podcast here. But you're not wrong, having been in the tech cybersecurity field for 20 plus years. It's not known for its physical well-being.
It's the opposite. It's
Cheetos a Mountain Dew by the case, man.
Again, it came about. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's like it was almost like a dick measuring contest, for want of a better phrase, as to
I heard you use that on another one.
who stayed up the latest, or who was the most drunk, or whatever it is. And I'm like, this is literally the opposite of what you should be doing, and especially from a cognitive function and what they're actually managing and what they're actually trying to achieve. And I was like, we need to change this on a big scale. And actually, one of the cool things that I've noticed recently is, at the start, it was a lot of people who were coming to me and they were like, I spent 20 years of my focusing on my career and I haven't really focused on myself. And I need to fix that, because, okay, now I'm this super successful person in the business or the company or whatever, but how long am I going to live to be able to see this out? There's been a shift in terms of like younger people coming and being like, oh, I've heard you talk about this and I've heard you talk about that. I'm preempting that a little bit, and I don't want to have those health issues and I don't want to have those injuries. So I want to get on the ball with things sooner rather than later, which has been a cool shift in things.
No, I'm trying to articulate. That's awesome. That's what I've seen. Because back when I was younger, my whole thing was, I want to break the norm of what the traditional IT person was thought of. And until I blew out my knee the first time, I actually was pretty good at that. And I still see people now, as I've tried to launch the podcast as well as restructure the consulting and get relaunched from that as a new entity for myself, or restructuring of the entity that I've got. I still have people come up to me now and, hey man, what's your workday look like? And I said, well, I'm usually up at 5. I immediately start to go to work. I said, depending on when I get a big thing done is when I go work out. But I'm like toast. By the time it gets 8 o'clock at night, my wife makes fun of me. She's like, you used to like start your nights. I said, I started my nights before at like 10. I said, I'm ready to go lay down at 8 o'clock. And then I hear people going, oh, I do both. I get up at 5 and I stay up until midnight. You're an idiot.
That's not going to last forever.
That's not going to last long. And quite frankly, I don't even know if I believe whatever the hell you're talking about, to be honest with you. But I have that happen probably about once a week, where somebody says some stupid stuff like that for me. So that's the reason why I think I like the movement, because it's putting spotlight on it's weird to say, a specific industry of people that are not typically known for health and well-being. And when you're talking about cybersecurity, and particularly in this day and age, you're always on. So happy I don't do any hands-on stuff anymore.
It's funny because obviously with things starting to open up, like I've been meeting people that I haven't seen in a while, and one guy that I work with is a videographer, and he was this is where the YouTube thing came about, but he was like talking about vlogging and what that should look like. And he was like, the last time that we shot a video, you were in the gym floor and we did this thing and it was the majority females and it was all everybody looking pretty and whatever else. And then he was like, what are you up to? And I was like, I work with the majority hackers. And he was like, I was like, yeah. And then told him the whole story. And he was like, how the f-? And I was like, I don't know why, but it's far beyond. The thing that I like about it the most is what I can give back to these guys and girls is health and years on their life. It's not necessarily you want a small waist and a big bum or drop a dress size or some fucking superficial bullshit. We can actually help you live better for longer, in terms of not even talking about their career and how they're able to function at work, like genuinely improve people's blood work. Like I've had clients come to me and they'd be like, my doctor actually couldn't believe the improvements in my blood work from the last time I did to now. He was asking me what I was doing. He says, just fucking keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, that to me is cool, because that's beyond a physical change. Like, that's number one, something that people generally wouldn't look at, but number two, something that will literally allow you to live longer for your family. It's just a great privilege.
How hard is it this is something I've thought about. Luckily, my wife she uses the gym and stuff like that. With some of the clients, do you get them to turn it into a family affair? Because I know change for one can rub off on the other one or cause resistance inside if not everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Again, it depends on the person too. It depends on their dynamic more than anything. But generally, I find that if the partner is supportive, the journey is much smoother, let's say. If they're not, and they're like, I'm trying to have my Tavola meal and they're having fucking pizza, it's difficult. Whereas if they have a bit of an understanding of it, and they're like, okay, I respect what you're trying to do and I understand it, then it's much easier. And some people, I'll get a message being like, oh, my wife wants to know, do you coach females? I was like, the majority of my career I've coached females, and then you're coaching both of them, which is always an interesting insight and dynamic. But yeah, it depends on the person. But I definitely have noticed over the years that if the partner is on board with things, the whole process is much smoother.
Gotcha. Do you find that, again, this is something I used to see when I was going to the gym, let's say, like I did for 20 some odd years. It seemed to me that the coaches that were working with other people, they weren't, in my mind, you got a ramp up period. You got that learning period where you're not going to push somebody overly hard, because you don't want to get somebody so sore, so exhausted, so freaking tired. Oh my God, I don't ever want to do that ever freaking again. Yeah. But I would repeatedly see what I consider to be the exact opposite of that, where it's like they weren't even pushing them at all. And then they'd go take up my thing was they were taking up the machines for freaking 30 minutes because they weren't really pushing the clients. Yeah. How can you gauge level of efforts with some of that stuff to know that somebody is being online, that they're putting in the right amount of exertion? Are you having them track reps and sets time, and you go in really deep into that type of stuff, or how do you know they're exerting the correct amount?
Yeah, so
and this is stupid because this is completely out of order, and I should probably, they just hit me in the head.
That's okay. No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I know. Don't worry. I know how it goes. Like, we talk around in circles. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yes, in answer to your question, the biggest challenge that I thought I would face whenever I moved fully online is, how can I try and give every single aspect of me being there, studio side by side, being remote? How can I give everything that I can if I'm stood there beside you in the gym floor, put it in a remote setting? And it just comes down to collection of data and things like that. So in terms of workouts, everybody has, obviously, they get delivered their plan and their workout, and we will look at progression of, are you getting stronger? Are you doing more reps? What does that look like? Are you improving in terms of your cardio time or whatever it is? But one big thing that I look at is get them to video some of their sets. So yes, in part, I will do it from an exercise execution standpoint, but the other side is, I'm like, I know where that is in your workout. If you're like fresh with your t-shirt all on and like you're looking cool, I'm like, you haven't given me enough up until that point. And I haven't actually disclosed that to any of them, but it gives me an insight as to what they're actually doing. And I talk a lot about intensity when I'm on the group calls and things like that. And actually, one of the main reasons of me traveling next week over to the guys is to show them what intensity in a workout should look like, because I could program the same workout for 10 people and they would each perform in a different way. And I think the intensity of the workout is something that is difficult to teach unless you're visually showing them. And the way I get around it is I talk about it a lot. I also show my own training, not that they need to train at that capacity. And then obviously there's the sort of community internal competitiveness in everybody as to they're putting in the chat like, oh, PB on this or PB on that. And it's good because it'll drive the other people that they want to get onto it. But there's also a lot of support that goes in the group. Really fucking good job. And they'll share their videos and whatever else. So again, where the community aspect comes into it.
You ever have to kick anybody in the ass for not working out hard enough?
Yeah, I have. And do you know what? I like people to think that they can come to me with any sort of problem, but at the same time, I don't like to think that they can get away with anything. Yes, I understand that everybody's human and they'll make mistakes and they'll forget things and whatever else, but I'm not here to be a babysitter. Like, I'm not here to just baby you through the process. If I don't think you're pulling your weight, literally, I'm happy to call people, because at the end of the day, you're talking about the people in the gym floor that and I've seen this before in the gym floor. It's almost that they see the less that they push them, the longer that they will coach them, if that makes sense, right. Which I guess, is a smart business model. But for me, I'm quite open with people in the initial conversation. And I was like, it's my job to educate you to the point that you no longer need to work with me, which is a fucking ridiculous business model. But the biggest thing that I think is missing from the internet and the fitness industry as a whole is an education as to, okay, 10 years down the line, can I still do the things that you're prescribing me to do now? Or how many different phases of things do we need to go through so that everything that you need to know long beyond our coaching relationship?
That no, I just lost the train of thought of the question I had. I should have wrote it down. Sometimes I write it. I write that down in there. All right, if that comes back to me, I'll just shoot that to you. Cool. Later. I'm going to ask. I got two questions. So, like I said, I've been in this kind of the fitness realm for a long time, but I've never been able to get a clear answer on one particular question. Anyway, how do you know the difference when your body really needs a break versus your mind telling, versus that moment of weakness where your mind says, I just don't feel like doing it today? Because I know that is something over the years that I've struggled with going, okay, maybe I'm reaching a point of legitimately overtraining. If I showed you some workout logs and then waking up going, I can't do this today, versus, hey, go freaking put on your shoes, go get your wrist wraps, let's freaking go. What's the best way to identify the difference of that so you're not injuring yourself?
I would say that if we think about actual overtraining for general population, they're not going to reach that. You need to be at a certain level. You need to be able to train at a certain level, and you need to have put the literal reps in to actually be able to take your body to that intensity, to the place of actually overtraining. So 95 times out of 100, if someone thinks they're overtraining, they probably not. I'm not saying it's not a thing, and I'm not saying that people can't get there, but you need to be seriously fucking putting through your body through hell to actually take you to a point of overtraining.
I have to show you some of my old workouts.
yeah, I don't fancy it. But I guess this is where it comes down to being in tune with your body. And again, to take it back to the best thing that I have from my own perspective for training and nutrition is an understanding of my body, what it needs, when it needs it, what to strip back when I need to, what to push whenever I need to. And that has literally just come down to the past 8 years of my training and understanding and working with different coaches. So it's always something that I want to give back to the client, is that understanding. So if I'm looking at their check-in sheet and they're telling me that they're not recovering, or they're not sleeping, or they're not hungry, or they're just not motivated to train, or they're not progressing in terms of their workout, and then I look at the numbers in terms of, okay, HRV's down, heart rate variability's down, or resting heart rate's up, or you're not actually sleeping, then it's like, okay, right, maybe we need to actually pull things back here for a week and try and go again. Do we just take 3 or 4 days off and do a deload that way, or do we just pull it back that you do the same amount of work, but you just do it at less capacity? And it just comes down to data management, which is funny because this is how I worked before I worked with the people that I work with. And if I talk about data and analytics, they're like fucking eyes light up. Like, I fucking love data. Like, I'm tracking data all day long. So
right.
It's one thing that they actually was put back to me. It's like the hackers in the information security, like they spent their life hacking all these different things, but never actually understood hacking themselves. And whenever you give them data, it's funny because I'll start with an amount of, this is what your check-in sheet looks like, and this is what we do. And then they come back like, I added this into my check-in sheet, and I pulled the data, and I now look at it on a monthly basis, and I now look for trends, and I'm like, this is what it's all about. It's like, how can we take the information that we have, find out what the good days or the good weeks are, and then replicate them to improve on? And it's just about having the data and information.
No, totally agree. As long as you don't get analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis.
But I think that's why it's good to have a second set of eyes. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's good to have someone else look at it, because you can look at it yourself and you can get too caught up in it. Whereas I can look at it from my perspective, and I'll pull up your check-in sheet and I can rationalize it a bit for you. You're like, oh, that makes sense.
That goes right back into why I'll make an argument for even a business going, why you need a consultant, for instance. And you're a coach. Just hold on. I'm not beholden to your internal politics, your internal beliefs. I'm here to give you an objective thing. And if you think that my opinion has value because of previous experience or results somewhere else, you're going to freaking listen to me. And if you don't, too many times, I probably don't want to work with you. What's the point of having me around? It. So I'll wrap up.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. Because you said you hadn't been able to get an answer.
That was the one. Yeah, because I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you saying that most people won't get there. I would say I would follow probably, again, You can take me in my word for it or say I'm full of crap.
I believe.
I know legitimately I have done that through training programs before, doing either recompositions and really arms. I can't lift my arms over my head. I can barely close my hands to make a fist. I have been there more times than I can count over the years. Not recently. It's probably been 2.5 years since I've been at that point, because I just keep going in and out of this stupid. I'm no kidding. I'm hurting myself in my sleep is what's happening. The reason I've had sleep studies done.
Okay.
My Apple Watch will sit there and say in my sleep that I have walked 200 steps, 50 steps, 100 steps. And when a sleep study, because I'm mentally subconscious of being hooked up to all the wires, I'm not moving at all. Okay. So they're like, we can't find anything wrong. And then I'm coming back and I'm all twisted up like a pretzel and doing all kinds of stuff and waking up and both of my arms are numb. So that's some weird nonsense that I'm going through that puts me into that orthopedics, either wet dream client or nightmare, depending on depending. I've made a very good friend that's an orthopedic PA over the years. Okay. And it's bad when you walk into the doctor's office and the receptionist goes, "Hey, John, how you doing?"
I've been here too many times.
Yeah, you've been there probably a few too many times, of which I can sit there and legitimately say some stuff was and other things are mystery injuries. If you could wrap it up with this, if there's something, again, you're in a highly competitive market space. There's lots of people out there, and there's lots of people coming in with a lot of preconceptions that we've talked about ad nauseum here. If you could wave a magic wand and make something go away to make your life better when they come to you, what would that probably be?
Diet culture. Because, again, it depends, but the diet culture becomes almost like a cult. So people who do keto will they'll be like, it's the only way, or people who do intermittent fasting, it's the only way. And while I will bash these diets and I'll make fun of keto and whatever else, it's the lack of education that comes with them. So it's like, okay, you just want to eat protein and fat, but why are you doing that? What's the actual purpose of doing that? And I think that diet culture as a whole is really messing up people's relationship with food, like really messing people's relationship with food. And I agree. That's where the biggest challenge comes, that people come and be like, "Oh no, but I can't eat carbs because I saw my mom do this diet 50 years ago." And I'm like, fucking hell, like where do we even begin with this one? But it's just that people believe that this is the way. And the thing that I say about it is everybody who says this is right and wrong, because keto might be the best thing for that one person and they have lost 100 pounds and they feel great and everything that comes along with it. Same with intermittent fasting, same with any diet. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for me. And that's, people will have a conversation, be like, "Oh yeah, you want to lose weight? Okay, I did keto. This is what you need to do." And it's like, no, it doesn't really work like that. It's understand what's going on with you and how you can build something out that will allow you to have sustainable weight loss or muscle gain or whatever it is. And I think if I could get rid of that culture, it would save me a lot of time. But it would save it genuinely, I think it's one of the biggest issues that people face, because they just are so lost in what to do, because they will read one article and they'll read the next one that tells them the opposite, and they'll read the next one that tells them something totally different again. They're like, how can I process and how can I get this? And the thing about it is, all of them have some good points. For myself, sometimes I'll use fasting, because if I relate it back to when I was on the gym floor, if I had a heavy morning of clients and I was working, say, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., if I didn't eat in the morning, I was fine the whole way through. But if I had my breakfast, at 5 a.m., by 9 o'clock, I was starving and I was pissed off. So I would have used intermittent fasting. I didn't run about telling everybody I was doing intermittent fasting. And the same with keto. Generally my first 2 meals of the day will be high protein and high fats, because cognitively I feel better. I don't run about telling people I do keto, but I've taken bits from each one to build out something that's for me. So I think if I could get rid of one thing, it would be diet culture.
Back in the days of me not looking like I ate a tub of Oreos, I would get that. And I would see the people do the same thing and not make any progress at all. They would sit there and think that, oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting. I can legitimately eat anything I want in whatever window they set, whether it was 8 hours, 4 hours.
If you want to eat, you can still eat fucking 5,000 calories in an hour.
It doesnesn't take long for that stuff to add up. Or the ones, I actually had that conversation recently. I can't have any carbs because of dude, it doesn't work that way. You're eating a tub of butter and 3 packs of bacon. Give me a break, dude. You just ate 4,000 calories.
Some of the things that people say, and they're like, even if you go down to, I guess you guys have there like Slimming World and Weight Watchers and stuff like that, they're like, oh no, I can eat a bowl of fruit, but I can't have it blended. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't have a smoothie, but I can eat
Right.
all of the fruits that I would put in the smoothie
Yep.
separately. Or yeah, I can eat unlimited pasta and I can eat unlimited potatoes, but I only eat half of a Freddo bar. And I'm like, if you tell me I can eat unlimited pasta, challenge accepted. Like, you're about to see some shit go down here. Like, I'm not going to lose any weight. I'm going to eat a lot of pasta. Do you know what I mean? It's just the stupid rules that people live and die by.
Oh yeah, and I did that. I just to prove a point, because I usually fall into the calories in, calories out, if it fits your macros type of thing. As long as I hit the protein number, I personally don't really give a crap how the other stuff typically splits out per se.
Yeah.
That's just me. I found out, having done my yo-yoing through the years. But to prove a point to somebody, I was down calories for the day, and I freaking ate 2 Hershey bars. I wake up and I'm 1.5 pounds down the next day.
Yeah.
You can't do that every day. It fit the bank account of numbers that I was allotted, for that day. So anyway, that's my own how I think stuff.
Yeah, I think, and again, you've worked that out for yourself. Do you know what I mean? And okay, yes, 9 times out of 10, calories in versus calories out will work for some people, but that 10% of people that it doesn't work for, then they start to believe that there's something wrong with them, and then they need to get down the rabbit hole of diet culture and whatever else. And we actually did a podcast on that recently of when calories in versus calories out doesn't work, because again, I didn't want to misinform people of this is the way to do it. Just eat less than your body expands, and then they're like, it doesn't work for me. So I needed to give, I guess, a broad caveat to that as well. It's tough because I have quite a strong opinion on a lot of things in terms of the industry as a whole, but I don't also want to contradict myself in a lot of things, because then people will start being like, this guy doesn't fucking know what he's talking about.
If you talk long enough on the internet, at some point you're gonna say something that's like, hold on, 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago, I read a post that you wrote on somebody else's Facebook page, and you said, and this is the opposite of that. I'm like, yeah, right, that up. If you have the time to go and to research that and go back, fair enough.
It's the internet; they have the time.
Yeah. True.
Man, this has been awesome. Best place for people to reach out to you, the website?
No, the website's shit. So if you want to book a call with me, then
the best place to book a call is the website.
Yes, the best place to book a call.
BC.training.
It's just BC.training. The best place probably to find me now is Twitter, just at BenCanning87. It's a strange place that I find myself in, but even like Instagram and stuff like that, I don't really use as much anymore, just because of the people that I work with. So get me on Twitter. If you want to book a call, BC.training website, and I'm gladly speak to you.
That's awesome. And I will say,
just be prepared to fill out a really extensive questionnaire.
It's good friction. No, and I agree. Until the hashtag We Have Health, I do recommend, if you're looking for a community, a non-judgmental, just whatever fits what you're doing, post up there, use that hashtag, follow that hashtag. And to be honest with you, I really didn't screw around with Twitter that much until I started doing that. Now it's like I'm on it all the time. Thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't think I had tweeted since 2014, and then Dave was like, "Oh, you go on Twitter?" I was like, "Really? Do people still use that?" And I'm like, now I'm on it all the time. It's actually cool because it's a shit show in some ways, but it's cool. It's a cool space. Definitely the We Hack Health hashtag. Some people are doing really cool shit, and even in the Discord, like the Discord's growing and growing every single day, every single week. So it's cool to see the support that comes far beyond just me. Do you know what I mean? It's cool.
Building community. That's, what this is about, having outreach. Me being able to reach out to you, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't know who you were until this was. I don't know that our paths would have crossed. No. Maybe not. I don't know. But now they have.
And here we are. And we've recorded an hour of conversation that the world can listen to.
Exactly.
What a great time.
And then they banned me from Twitter.
I've never been allowed to record a podcast since.
Riverside revoked my license. Ben, appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.